Hey guys, welcome back to Broke OverLand. My name is Chad, and today we're going to be making a little bit of sense of this mess. So as you know, we've already put the evaporator in the cab of the truck. So now we need to wire in the rest of we need to plumb in the rest of the air conditioning system for the cab. So I bought this kit from Advanced Automotion. I'll leave a link in the description down below. The kit comes with really no instructions, but it comes with pretty much everything you need. So it comes with the upper and lower mounting brackets for the compressor. Comes with bolts for the for the brackets and the idler pulley. Comes with your airline offset for your air pump. Comes with a belt, the crankshaft or crank pulley for crank pulley and longer bolt fan bolts. Comes with a wiring harness here, and it comes with all the tubing. And you can opt for the pusher, as you noticed in our other video where we put one of these guys in. We had puller fans that would have to face towards the back of the truck, so they're between the radiators. I didn't like that design, so we went with their version that has pusher fans that will actually push air through the thing, so the fans can sit forward of the facing forward on the LMTV, and it has bracket set up already for it. It also comes with the air dryer, your 2 pressure switches, bolts for all that stuff, and all of your hosing and all that good stuff. Now we just need to figure out the sequence of events to put this thing into the truck, and let's get started. Okay, so first order of priority is let's go ahead and swap out this condenser. Now the way that this thing is set up, these hose nipples go towards the driver's side of the truck. I'm a little confused on this one because the smaller port, the way this is configured, the smaller port would be at the top and the larger port would be at the bottom. My understanding is you want that the other way around, but I don't know. This may just be one of those systems. Because the way the hose fitting sizes line up, that definitely leads me to believe that this thing is sitting in there that way. Oh yeah, the kit also comes with some extra fittings, or not extra fittings, but your pump side fittings. Okay, well, we've got our skid plate brackets pulled off the front of the truck. This is the passenger side, and this is the driver's side. This would be facing forward. So now what we need to do is we need to drill a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here, and a hole here, so that we can mount our new condenser, which is this guy right here. Okay. I guess those 2 bolts will miss each other. Shaw and shaw. Okay, holes drilled, chamfered. Let's go stick this back in the truck. As I've noticed, when you go to install this thing, the metal, 1/2-inch metal frame rail is right behind this bolt head. So I gotta put the bolt in first, apparently. Good to know. Government loves their through bolts. Now I can get the other one back here started. Interesting, because it's not wide enough. With both of these bolted in, it's not wide enough for that to put this bolt through onto this guy. So we're going to go ahead and mount this to this side first, and I think I'm going to mount the top and leave the bottom hanging so that I can swivel it out of the way and put the bolts in on this side. Speaking of space, I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to have enough room to put this line on afterwards. There is not much space up there for a wrench. This is going to sit like so. Oh man, I might need to put the hose on before I put this radiator in. Let's put the hose on and then feed the hose back through. Alright, let's take this up before I drop it on my face. Hey, hey, hey.
It's at this point you'll notice the 90-degree elbow on the condenser needs to face the front of the truck, but I won't figure that out until later.
So, let me just show you real quick. Alright, so right up in here, with this thing tilted, you can slide the bolt in, rotate it up and slide the bolt through the whole thing. That bolt right there, you can see it. So we can get the nut on there, we'll leave this thing hanging, then we'll figure it out. Okay, come back over from this angle. And we've got this little pigtail as part of the kit. And we managed to install the air dryer on the fender wall here.
Typically you mount the air dryer to the left of the headlight on the back of the bumper, but I didn't have the room because of the winch cable.
And then one thing I've also noticed is this plate. To get those two lower engine mount bolts out, it's easier to come in from underneath. And this plate is a little bit wonky to get in here with your air pump on there, but it is, you are able to come in from this side and just kind of work it around until it gets in there. All right, I don't have a wide angle, but I want to jump in here before I get too far along with this guy. So the engine mount bolts I had to leave loose, and on the right hand side I had to add a spacer of 5mm, so just less than 5mm, which for me it turned out to be 3 washers stacked on top of each other. And that spacer is because the other engine mount holds up your trans cooler, so that you got to take up that extra space on the other side. It's much easier to get to it from the bottom here, and I stack the spacers up in there. As far as up here, I still haven't plugged everything in, and I'm not even sure if this bracket is the right direction, but if I flip it around so it sits flat on here, the riv nut hits the either side, so it either hits here, or if I spin it around the other way, it hits this check bolt here. So either way, I'm kind of screwed. One thing that I've run into is the idler pulley. At the length that they have it set up, you can see that it does not line up. So I've got to make a 10mm spacer so that it lines up along the axis. I still haven't put the pulley on the engine yet, which will go between the fan clutch and the balancer. So this 90-degree goes on your discharge line. Make sure you have your O-ring in there. And that's going to point down because our hose is going to come out of here and go that way. Okay, so we'll take the discharge tube, which is going to feed down through there and actually end up underneath the truck, connecting to the condenser. Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. Good O-ring. Okay, that's not gonna affect it. Okay. So this little dude is for the suction side. It's gonna go in just like so. So if we put that in there, okay, we can still hook on here with that out of the way. Okay. Now this is where this, okay, so this has got to spin around and go above the oil fill plate. Shit. That's what I was worried about. Because otherwise it's going to be sticking way the hell out here. That's where it wants to be, yeah? I'm going to cut this off. Put a riv nut there. Move this over there so that I can still add oil to the damn compressor. We cut our plate down put a freaking M6 rib nut in there, and now we can stick this guy on there, and it no longer interferes with the oil fill. I will let you know that I did have to chase these threads in this upper plate, because for some reason when it was painted or powder coated or whatever, they filled the threads full of paint. So there is that. Alright, let's try this again. It's lined up there. Wow. So this has got to come out a little bit. That's got to come out a little bit. Jeez. Okay. We're just using the bend it across your thigh method. So. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now it sits nicely. So now we can put this dude on. This was seriously a pain in the junk to get off. Ended up having to drain the radiator completely, drop the lower radiator fan shroud so that I could take the upper radiator hose and the intercooler lines off to get them out of the way so that I could work that upper fan shroud off. But yeah, we got it. So now we're going to go ahead and pull the fan off and let's get going on that. And the only reason why I'm not taking the hose off of here is because this brass nut here, this brass adapter here, is rounding off. I think what I'm going to do is take the bolts out of the fan, pull the fan out, and then just slide it down out of here. It's not lined up with the bolts, so I've got to put 10 psi in here to get this to open up so that I can move the dang thing, line it up so I can get the bolts out.
Remember to always push away when breaking a nut loose. Sympathy pains in 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Ouch. Okay, that one's loose. Oh. Well, at least it didn't break. And if I'm not supposed to put Loctite on here, I'm sure somebody is screaming at their TV right now, or iPhone, or computer, or whatever. So be sure to watch the comments down below, because somebody will definitely tell me if I'm doing this wrong. Somebody will also tell me I'm doing it wrong, even if I'm doing it right. So, yeah. 245. That is tight against this guy. Huh. It's an optical illusion. I would have sworn that that thing was way forward. Huh. All right, I guess not.
Tighten 6 nuts to 15 foot-pounds in sequence, then tighten to 23 to 29 foot-pounds in sequence. Okay. Shoot, I only have 30 foot-pound. All right, gotta grab my other torque wrench. All right, since this torque wrench only does inch-pounds, we'll have to go to 180 inch-pounds to get to 15 foot-pounds. This is the lowest torque setting I can get out of this one. Damn it, stabbed myself in the head. Oh, come on. Thread sealer works. Put the upper rad cover in. I want to fix those first. Actually fairly clean in there, but I'm going to get the garden hose and blow some water through there just for grins. Not a drop of sand in there, so this thing never left Washington because it just shoots right through in all areas. That is just hilarious. Okay, good to know. Oops. Ah, crap, gotta reach back in here, put this on. Okay, I gotta move this camera because you're not looking at anything. There, now we're just gravity feeding the coolant back into the engine on the petcock and let gravity do the work. Unfortunately, I spilled a bunch of coolant over on the side of the engine because my fuel filter I had plug in over here leak like a sieve, and it's still leaking. That's freaking awesome. Stand by. Yeah, you can see the going through the ill filtre. Get some bubbles going, and there they go on down into the coolant land. Thanks, Ron, for the idea. This is working like a champ. Okay, well, this thing's drinking its coolant down. Let's go ahead and take a little walk through the system. I'm just going to do this as somebody who's going to not watch the rest of the video and just watch this piece. First thing you got to do is cut all your zip ties across here because you're going to have to move this pipe from the front side to the back side. You're going to have to drain your radiator because you're going to have to flip this coolant line that goes into your air pump. You're going to have to flip that over and reroute because it starts pointing down. You got to flip it so it points up and then reroute it so that it comes up, down, and around, and then underneath the back to its original mounting hole over there. The pulley is fun to put on, but pretty self-explanatory. I'll put the torque specs up on the screen. The tensioner pulley, I had to make a 10mm spacer to go in there to hold tension on that. This top plate, there is 2 bolts that hold their air pump to the engine. The top bolt there, and there's another one down below. Looking at it from the back, you've got the top bolt for the air pump. There's 2 more bolts back in here that you have to get in, and then the bottom bolt for the air pump down here. So what I did is I took the bottom bolt out, and then the 2 bolts that are on this, just on the front cover of the engine, and left the top bolt alone. Hooked the upper plate in with the bottom bolt, then took the top bolt off and swung the plate, just swiveled this plate up, and then put the other 3 bolts in, and then tighten them all down so that that gasket right back there did not move for the air pump. Once you take the bottom 2 motor mount bolts out that are right up in here, you have to, on the right hand side, you have to put a 5mm spacer to match the bracket that holds your trans cooler on. And then leave these 2 bolts loose, very loose, like just finger tight in there, because you're going to have to use the looseness of those bolts in order to line up the 4 bolts that hook into the upper bracket. So once you get those 4 bolts in there, the upper bracket bolt tight, then you can tighten your motor mount bolts. And then you can put the 4 bolts in that hold on to your air or your refrigerant compressor. I had to cut this plate down. This had a full-size plate. I had to cut that down. If you want to watch the video, you can watch it. It comes with 2 elbows. So one has a fitting on it that's going to go to your suction side, your low pressure side. And then you have another fitting that's just a straight 90 degree. That's going to go to your high pressure side. The high pressure lines, you've got about 4 foot of high pressure line that I ran. I put this 1-inch cover on it, but I ran the high pressure line around the front of the steering box, up in there along the front of the bumper, comes down and then runs into the bottom of the condenser. The condenser itself, I had to drill through the skid plate holders. You can watch that part in the video. Mount it. It is a super duper pain in the butt because you've got to mount the high pressure side going into the evaporator hose before you put this condenser in the truck. Otherwise you will never get your wrench in there to put that hose on. Ran that hose up and then across over to our dryer, which, let's show you that. Okay, so I ran the hose from the condenser over to the inlet side of the dryer. So your flow line, you can get these 2 hoses backwards on the other side. That only kind of goes on one way on the dryer. Oh, come on, Brian. Because one has a male fitting and one has a female fitting. But you can get the other ends screwed up. Ask me how I know. And then, yeah, once it comes from the condenser to the air dryer, then the air dryer high pressure line comes out and goes off over to the evaporator, which is the upper line. You can see it coming across with the heater hoses, comes up and goes through the evaporator, and then the evaporator kicks that out with the low pressure side back down to the pump. And there's all that. Let's see if we can edit that so it doesn't look like I'm going to make people throw up. Oh, there we go. I didn't have it open. We pulled a vacuum on the system, let it sit for, I meant to let it sit for 10 minutes, but I ended up letting it sit for an hour because I got sidetracked. The needle never moved, so we don't have any leaks in the system. So we dumped the vacuum, popped the cap, the oil fill on the compressor, we needed 3 more ounces of oil to the compressor because it comes with a charge of oil already. And based on our system, we needed 3 more ounces to add to our refrigerant that we're going to pump in. So right now we're pumping a vacuum, and we're going to hold that vacuum, keep the continuous pumping vacuum for 30 minutes so that we get all of the moisture out of the system, and then we'll start dumping our refrigerant back into the system based off of our calculations on the capacity of the pump, the the condenser, the evaporator, and the lines. I think we should be at 3 pounds in, and then see how it runs, and then we may have to add a pound. So we're in the truck, got it running. We got the foot, get a little, see what the temperature that is. Down to 41 degrees. It's like a meat locker in here, man. This thing is blowing super cold. So we've got ourselves some nice cold blowing air. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up down below. And if you are not a subscriber, I would love to have you as a subscriber. So click the little bell icon down there and subscribe to this channel. It's free. Come on, go ahead. It's easy. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. We'll catch you in the next one. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love to has you as a subscriber. Damn it! Okay, there we go. We got ourselves some air conditioning. Now I can freeze myself in comfort now that winter is here. So, shit. Get retarded. God, I can't believe I do this stuff.